My name is Laura Martin. I am currently a senator on the SGA, sitting on the Appropriations Committee. I am a student ambassador and orientation team leader, and I'm running for treasurer on the ticket T-moji.
Hey, I'm Kevin Kuttner. I'm a current senator. I'm running for vice president. I'm a member of Theta Chi. I'm an RA in Res Tower.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Ridgway. I'm running for president, current SGA vice president, and I'm VP of public relations for Tri Delta.
Hello, my name is Andrew Key. I'm running for Attorney General. I'm a brother of Pi Kappa Alpha. I'm campus involvement chair for that fraternity. I'm the director of athletic affairs, and I am also an RA in Tower C.
Hi, my name is Guy Sampson. I'm running for chief of staff. I'm currently an RA in Princeton, Scarborough, and Newell, and I'm the director of legislative affairs.
All right, so we'll get to your guys' individual initiatives in a little bit, but first, just tell me a little bit about kind of what your overarching thing of your ticket is.
Okay, so our whole idea is you took emoji and we put a T in front of it and made it T-moji. So the play on words, the T stands for obviously reference to Towson, but also transparency and efficiency, which is more internal SJ initiatives, and then expression. So that's our whole idea, is express yourself, because people express themselves with emoji through text message. And so figuring out how to utilize different students' expressions and how to implement that next year as an exec board.
All right, so if you guys just want to go down the line, or maybe you guys can just kind of take turns talking about some of the individual initiatives that you guys have.
Okay.
So I'll start. As the treasurer, I want to work with a little bit more of the funds that we have in the SGA. I want to create a fund called the Do Good Fund. Basically, that fund would be a way for student groups to access that money to have big community service events on campus. If they want to go travel elsewhere, it'd be really helpful for them to go off campus. Students Helping Honduras, Habitat for Humanity have actually come to the SGA and have said hey, we need money to go travel and do these great events. So the Do Good Fund would be a way for them to access that. Another initiative I want to work on is actually doubling the Prove It and the Collaboration Fund, giving students more money in order to access for different student events on campus, things of that nature. Another thing is we all pay student fees, so I really want to put the SGA budget that is our actual student fees online, visible, so everyone knows where their student fees are going. And my final initiative is I want to create a huge, extensive list of creative ways to fundraise, work with different student groups on campus, make them have different opportunities to fundraise, because the Green Turtle only happens so often, and 15% of your proceeds really don't work for that. So those are my initiatives.
So I have one big initiative, and it's the bereavement policy, and that has to do with students getting off of classes for times when they experience loss of family members. So right now, if you have a class at 3:30 and at 3:20 you get a phone call saying a loved one has passed away, you're still required to go to that 3:30 class. Now, a lot of your professors, they'll understand, they'll let you miss the class, but some professors will say you get a week off. Some may say 2 classes, others may say 3 days. You never know. There's not a uniform time, and that's really difficult for students who have experienced a loss, because you're trying to grieve, you're trying to be there for your family and have your family be there for you, but you also need to be worried about your studies. So this bereavement policy, which is something I spearheaded this year as a senator, is something as a vice president I make sure that the administration really gets through, and so that students can get the time off that they deserve, if something unfortunate happens.
And my main focus would be saving students money. So as a current exec board member, I already have the connections to continue the discount cards, and that would be something simple that I could do right at the start of the semester. And as well as implementing a financial advisor. So every student that is coming into Towson or is already a student at Towson, if they have loans or a scholarship or a grant, then they'd have someone assigned to them from the financial aid department that would help them with a payment process post-graduation. So this would be an advisor that you would have once you leave Towson's campus, and you would have someone to help you through that process of staying out of debt.
I have 2 major initiatives that I'm going to be working on, one of them being a universal attendance policy. As of right now, there isn't really one, so teachers can kind of use their discretion to allow a certain number of unexcused absences, or if they allow any at all. I think it's important to enable the rights of the students to be able to miss a couple classes if due to anything. I mean, if you're not able to make class, that's really a personal decision. We're all adults in college, and so we should be given a couple times where we can't show up. It's really important to the students. So I know one instance, a student came up to me and said, I have to miss class, and if I miss class, it's 5 percentage points off my grade, which that was, I really felt for the person, because it was a serious issue of why they had to miss class, and the teacher just wouldn't accept it. So another one of my initiatives is, obviously I'm putting the T back in tailgating. So pretty much what I'll be doing is working with Terry Hall on changing the tailgate policy. a lot of people aren't a fan of the new policy that we have in place, and they want to see the old one back. I think Terry and I are going to be working to kind of almost make that pretty much happen. I think it's important because when alumni come back, they want to see that Towson is, Towson's fun. It's still, what they were going through when they were in college. Like it's fun. It's Towson. So that's it.
Again, my name is Guy Sampson. I'm running for Chief of Staff. So I have 3 major initiatives. My first initiative is I want to establish a reading day, which is a break between your last day of class and your first day of finals. I've been talking with Dr. Chandler, the provost, about how we can maneuver that and how we can put it into the works. A lot of universities have this and it seems effective, so we want to bring that here to Towson. My second initiative I've been working with Rich Reinhardt, who is currently the Assistant to the President for Governmental Affairs, is to repeal the Baltimore County and the Baltimore City Housing Code to allow more students to have affordable housing off campus. I think it's kind of outrageous that you have to go and live with 2 other people or 3 other people in a house, and you can live as many as you want and make sure that rent is low. And my third initiative that I want to do is I've worked with ISA and ISO is to create an international student to sit on the cabinet and to sit in the SGA, to represent the international students that we have here at Towson University.
Okay, so you guys are all on the SGA in some capacity this year. What kind of an advantage do you think that gives you, and going into next year?
Okay, can I go on that?
Sure. I feel like being in the SGA definitely gives us more like an insider view about what's going on, and we have all not been in the SGA at some point, so we know how we can relate to our fellow peers, our students. So we know how the SGA works, and we know how we can make it more efficient and more transparent, which are 2 of our platforms.
I think that being in the SGA, as much as we love it, and as much as we really just love being involved, I think we're all pretty critical of SGA in that we really view it as something that isn't, it's not where it should be. It's something that we work towards to make it better, and that if elected, we really want to make sure that every student concern gets met. There's a lot of there's some negative stereotypes when it comes to SGA, and we're really not okay with that, because if we're truly representing you, then we're going to welcome you in with open arms, and we all plan to do that, but we need to make sure that you feel that you can approach it. So working on approachability, making sure that people understand the student government is there for them, and that they will be able to hear your voice and listen to you.
Yeah, and I was a senator last year, and as a vice president now, I've actually had incidents where I've physically had to step in for the current president, Brandy Hall, and deal with the negative feedback that students have given us. And I think it's been the most challenging position I've ever held, and having so much responsibility held on one organization for even things that we have no control over, and just dealing with the different issues and knowing how to combat that and how to put a positive spin on everything and really make everything student friendly and have every student know exactly where Towson stands on different issues.
I personally think being with the SGA as a director, you make a lot of connections with the staff, and to me that's really important, because they know who you can get in contact with to actually get things done for the students, and that makes us more efficient. If we have people who are involved in a lot of outside organizations and they're involved with the SGA, it makes it even better, because they get the best of both worlds. They get the concerns that the students have, and they get the knowledge of how to get it done. So that's perfect. That's a perfect combination right there.
I think being involved in the SGA it brings 2 great things for me. Right now, currently, I can work on my initiatives that I want to work on already and already help students. I know who to work with, I know who to talk to, and I know what to do to get those things done. And the second thing, as it already stated in the tirade before, I'm very close to the current Chief of Staff, so I learned a lot about his job and his role and how I can do that and how I can perform it better for next year, so I can be more effective and efficient for the students.
So Charlotte and Kevin, you guys both kind of talked about some negative feedback that the SGA has been getting this year. Would you just mind giving me some examples of that feedback and how you would hope to kind of make sure that students don't have that same problem? I don't want to say problem, but same reaction to the SGA next year?
Yeah, so a big thing that happened this year, obviously, is the baseball and soccer team getting cut. And although we actually have nothing to do with athletic fees, a lot of people came to us, and I think just knowing what the president's decision was and her reasoning behind that, and just relaying the message. And I know that sounds really simple, but being the middleman is the most effective thing that we can do as an SGA, because that's kind of our whole purpose in this process. And if we know something, we need to send that message out to the students as fast as possible, and have them know that even if they're angry, know that there's a reason behind everything, and we don't necessarily support any side on any issue, but just having that message across and having all the information that have it be correct for every circumstance.
Yeah, I think Charlotte really put it best in that, there's some times where students feel that, student government isn't exactly, serving them the way that they think, because, it's tough to know exactly what the student government's purpose is sometimes if you're not on the inside or if you're not, extremely involved. So I think that a lot of times just by being more approachable, being friendlier, being more welcoming to an organization that, we're public servants. We're here for you. It's what representative democracy is. We're here for you so that then we can relay all your concerns, to if we can't solve the problem directly, making sure that, administrators or anyone who can solve the problem understands, is aware of, and then can fix it.
So it seems like every year when SGA elections come around, everybody always kind of hits on like the same points, like dining hours in Newell on the weekends, parking, things like that. And some of the initiatives you guys have are, they might not be like the norm, like the ones I just mentioned, but what do you guys think that you can do to really make sure that your initiatives happen so that next year when other tickets are running, they won't be talking about the same initiatives that you are now?
I know I can speak on this for at least my initiatives, is that I'm currently working with those people who are in charge of that right now. So I'm in the admin office working with Rich, working with Dr. Chandler, make sure that these steps are actually followed through so that next year when the elections come around again, this problem is already solved. So right now, I'm just going to work with the people who are in charge of that and get their feedback on it and make sure it goes into effect.
Yeah, I think exactly what Guy said. Right now, with working with the bereavement policy, I've met with Dr. Moriarty, the Vice President of Student Affairs, to discuss how exactly to get the bereavement policy implemented. I have a meeting coming up with the Provost and the Vice Provost about how we can get the bereavement policy in effect right away for students. So I think that our biggest thing about our initiatives is that they're either already in progress or we have a set plan, and the people that we want to talk to, we're ready to talk to, get them done.
And this year's election compared to last year's when there were only 2 tickets running, and this year there's 3 pretty much full tickets and then one other person. But the chances of a full ticket getting elected are just slim based upon the number of people who are running. So are you guys prepared to work with somebody who's on another ticket on some of these same initiatives that you just told me, even if your entire ticket isn't elected?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the people on the other tickets are currently SGA members. So, for instance, Ben Mendelsohn, I ran with him last year. So we already have that strong relationship. And hearing everyone's ideas, I think we're kind of bouncing off each other because we'll hear a great idea and be like, oh my gosh, I would love to implement that next year if I get elected, even though it wasn't my initiative. So I already have ideas that I would love to work with them on, and having them be on exec board with me or having Kuttner on another exec board. That way, our ideas can just mesh together pretty efficiently and be able to still have all of our ideas come together in the end, which is the most important part of this.
Yeah, and this past semester I was actually working with Ben Mendelsohn, who's running on tomorrow's Towson's ticket, and we were working on coming up with a way, like a list of restaurants for students in order to fundraise. So me branching out to different student groups, I'm already talking to different groups and getting ideas for this whole fundraising catalog. So we all have SGA experience together, so we've all worked together before, so it's just a matter of putting our ideas together.
Building off of that, even for Joe Zarafa, I've known him since I was in URG. I've known Joe Zarafa through leadership. We went on leadership together, so we know each other, we have a relationship, and I feel like even for those people who aren't SGA, we have an even stronger relationship because we've seen each other in the office for a whole year, we've been working together, we've bounced ideas off of each other already. So I think it'll be really easy to work with each other.
Contrary to popular belief, we actually like the people we're running against. A lot of people think that we don't like each other. We're actually really fond of them. Like you said, I ran with Joe at URG last year and we won together. I went to leadership with Michael Tompkins. I served with Sam Hubbard. I used to serve with Ma May last year when I was a justice. So a lot of these guys, Ben Middleton's been a mentor to me in the SGA. So a lot of these people that are running against us, we know these people. We're fond of them. Just that, we just decided to go with a different sort of people as our ticket, but we don't dislike them at all. And I feel the same from them as well.
All right, well, that's all my questions. Jeremy, did you have stuff to follow
Just
up
a few
with?
follow-up. So you mentioned the T in your ticket name is for transparency. So what issues in transparency have there been this year? You mentioned outreach, but what else has there been in terms of?
I think a lot of people think that all we do is internal things, and a lot of our legislation doesn't really affect the student body. But every constitution we pass means another group of students can meet on campus and have access to our budget. And a lot of things we're working on now with the different policies that doesn't necessarily be assigned to a certain group of people on this campus. So having initiatives which may appear internal really are external and affect every single student at this campus.
How would you remedy that, and then how would you foster a better sense of transparency then for making sure that these external issues are known to the campus body?
I think, because as chief of staff, one of the things I'm gonna work on is like the transparency part of it. And the thing is, like what Laura said, we want to publish the budget, make sure people can see it online. We're going to make sure the finance report is actually published each month, because right now, currently, the last published finance report is from 2012. And we're way past March 2012. And we want to make sure that next year those things are published. We want to make sure the minutes are published online. We make sure the agenda is published online. Those things are published so that people know what's going on in the SGA, and they can come to our meetings and actually be informed and know what's going on. So we're working to have transparency by making sure that things are available for students to see and they have access to those things. We don't, we shouldn't have to tell you what the budget is. You should be able to see it yourself and be able to access it at any time.
And we're very fortunate to be in a time where there's a lot of social media that we can access. So if we update our Twitter about every single legislation that's been going through, students will know what's going on, and everyone's on Twitter all the time. We're all addicted to our phones. So it's really just helpful to let the student body know that everything we do is not just internal. It's we are working on things for the entire student body, and we as students have these concerns as well.
And I think, and just kind of a props to the Tower Light being able to cover SGA issues. I know there was an article recently about the bereavement policy, and a friend of mine who didn't know that I was working on it approached me and said she's a senior and she recently suffered the loss of her grandfather. The day of the funeral, she had to come back and deliver a debate in a class that we have together. And so she read the article and approached me and said, I really, really appreciate what you're doing with that. I wish that I would be able to kind of have benefited from that, but she really appreciated the fact that we were working on it. And I think that being able to just kind of let students know exactly what we're here to do. We have a lot of great initiatives that are going to affect every single student on campus. We're really excited for them to be able to, find out how they can benefit from, voting T-moji.
So you mentioned one of your main initiatives too is to be a middleman between students and administration. And typically when we think of the Student Government Association, we think of them as representations of the student body. So now those views are going to clash on an occasion, the student body and administration. So if that were the case, would you be afraid to approach administration with the actual view and really represent the students well?
No, I think that letting people know that we might be biased, but everything we say is just what the students want. So it's when, especially you guys know as senators, voting rights, it doesn't apply to what you think of that issue. It depends. If you hear student concerns, then that's a different story. And if you vote with that in your mind, then that's putting that student's perspective. And if we said we passed Safe TU baseball and soccer. So that was something that students came to us with a concern, and we did take a stance on. And so even though it might have not made the world of a difference, I think just having that backing, students really appreciated that.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think there will never be an issue of us, siding with administration simply because they are administration. No professional staff casts a vote. Not a single one of them, has selected us or asked us to run. We decided to run because we wanted to represent students, and if we're elected, it's because students want us to represent them, and that they believe that we will take their concerns to administration and get them passed. I think a middleman has nothing to do with representing both sides. It's more of a liaison, making sure that the administration is aware of what's going on, because sometimes they can be disconnected from student concerns.
In your view, and you said all of you are experienced in SGA, how effective is approaching administration? How open are they to hearing some of these concerns?
Yeah. Well, I had a meeting today with Deb Moriarty, and I think sitting down, and especially it was an informal setting, we just had lunch, but we do it once a month. So normally Brandy's there, she had to step out for today, which was actually beneficial to me because I got to sit down with her and just discuss things kind of openly and knowing that it was confidential between us. And so hearing her views on certain things and her hearing my views really just is something that most students don't get to experience. And I wish they all did, but luckily that we do have the ability to relay that message. I think
I'd say I had a good experience with working with administrators. I know, like I said, Rich Reinhardt, working with him with the repealing the Baltimore County law or whatever, he calls me often. He calls me on the SGA phone, calls me on my cell phone, he'll email me, and he'll reach out to me. We talk at least 2 to 3 times a week. And it's great that he's an administrator who works in the admin office. And I remember his first day on the job, the president told him, Dr. Lush, he said, you need to call Guy. And he called me, and we met. And it was awesome because I didn't even know who he was, but he had to reach out to me. So I have to say, working with administrators has always been fine with me because it seemed they're very receptive. He may not agree with everything I say, but he also listens to me, and then we can work through and make some compromise on how we can push forward. So it's been a great experience working with administration.
Yeah, and I feel that definitely since we are on the SGA, it's funny how we hear about a concern and the administration already has heard it, because it's everything just, it's like words just come and everything. They already know what's going on, like especially in the past couple of weeks when there was a whole movement with like the hashtag TU stands for. Dr. Hall approached me and was like, hey, what do you think about this idea? And I was like, let's do it, let's get it going. And it was just crazy. So it's just, they know what they're really approachable and they want to be able to help us any way that we can.
Okay, great. Mudge touched on this, and he said that issues tend to resurface from year to year too. So historically, some of the initiatives in past SGA tickets haven't really gone through. And you guys did mention that you're working with administration, but how well researched would you say some of your initiatives are? For instance, with your stuff, with doubling the 2 budgets, like where would that money come from?
Okay, so doubling the cheap budgets, the collaboration, the proof fund, it really depends on how many incoming students we have. So student fees, or trying not to raise our student fees, we as an SGA haven't asked for more money. But basically, if we have the revenue, we would be able to double those. In regards to putting the budget online, that's another thing I have researched, and it's different if you want to have it interactive online, but we are very capable of just putting the Excel sheet online so everyone can see it. My initiatives I feel are very, very feasible. It just requires some research. Like I'm already talking to student groups for fundraising. I've already talked to Chris Randosh about putting the budget online and how that could be possible. So I think a lot of our initiatives are, like you said, we have been working on them already. So it's really.
I think just like the struggle right now is we want to, I'm fortunate enough to be in the exec board, but we don't want to overstep our boundaries assuming we will be elected, because as much as we want these initiatives to go through, we still have to wait until we're actually inaugurated to have these happen and make those connections and make those contacts, because if we start sending emails and then we're not on exec board next year, then it's going to cause some problems, and the administrators is not going to look so good for us if we don't actually have the ways to implement that next year.
Okay. Anybody else want to?
As director of athletic affairs, I go to a lot of sporting events, so I can tell, I can see the impact that the policies of tailgating has had on the student body as a whole, and I can see how students are less likely to come to the games now, and they're less likely to have as much fun as they were having before. So Terry has already expressed interest in meeting with me and talking with me about maybe changing those policies. So
I think like on my initiatives, I researched them so much to the point where I was in the SGA, I was late at night on Friday just going through it and just trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing, because for anything that I'm trying to do is political, so you can't go to a politician without knowing each side of the story. So before I even present it to anyone else, I have to know both sides of it. I play devil's advocate with myself, or I have my friends look at it, so I think we're going to be well versed in whatever initiative that we have. Just like she said, we don't want to overstep our boundaries and start working on things if we don't get elected. We want to get past next Wednesday first before we start really putting our feet to those type of things.
Yeah, and definitely since like the election, like since campaigning has started, like we've all heard the other tickets ideas. So like if there is a split ticket, we'd be more than willing to like help with them with their initiatives and everything. So like our research is just going to all be compiled into one if there is a split ticket.
And I think the biggest thing that we can notice is a lot of times initiatives seem ambiguous, or they're not tangible. And I think the great thing about everything we're trying to accomplish is not only are they tangible, but a lot of times people see tangible initiatives as low key, small, but we have really big ideas. But there are also things that by the end of the year, by the end of the term, we'll be able to say, yes, we did this, no, we didn't do this. If we can say, of course we want to promote school spirit, increase school spirit, but it's tough to say, oh yeah, we did it, check it off, school spirit, we have it. So I think it's the greatest thing is that our specific initiatives that we have are measurable.
Just one last thing. So I've talked to a lot of students, and some of them have mentioned that though it's intimidating to enter a new office, and of course that's the case when you don't know the environment. So do you think it's your responsibility to not only foster a sense of transparency, but also reach out more to the student body in that case?
I mean, yeah, like I said, as chief of staff, I work with transparency and also with the overall the office, make sure the office is student friendly, because honestly, no matter what position you are in this university, you're only here for one thing, that's for students. Whether you're the president of the university or whether you're working in the kitchen, you're here for the students. So as SGA, we're student leaders, students first. So we want to make sure that we put the students first in all that we do. We want to make sure when they come into our office, know that that's their office, not ours. They elected us to be there, so they want to come in there and talk to us anytime they want to. We're there for them because that's for them.
Okay, I guess that's it then.
Yep,
Thank you
I'm
guys, we
good.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.